Welcome. Today I'd like to talk about a little game called Cyberpunk 2077. Perhaps you've heard of it. You might have seen some glitches. You might have noticed that PlayStation pulled it down from their store in a move that I've never seen before. But with the 1.5 patch that recently came out, I figured it was a good time to go revisit it. And honestly, it's a game that you'll meet a great cast of characters, have a lot of fun shooty gameplay, encounter his fun cyberpunk story. I want to explore it a little. Cyberpunk is an open world game in the most traditional sense. You're free to explore Night City and its surrounding barrens. The city is a tangled mess of streets and high-rises where you'll find dozens of side missions, gigs, and criminal activity that's all pretty much solved with you murking some dudes. You'll spend a lot of your time pulling up your map, selecting an icon to go to, driving there, shooting a bunch of people, maybe reading a note or listening to a call, and then repeating it all over again. Activities on the map fall into 5 categories: NCPD requests, gigs, cyberpsycho sightings, main jobs, and side jobs. So the NCPD activities. These are little requests put out by the cops. There's crimes going on that they can't respond to, so they figured the best solution was the gig economy. You basically pull up to these places. There's very little nuance. You show up, a crime is happening, perhaps an assault in progress. You show up, shoot some dudes. Doesn't even really matter if you rescue the person at all or not. Walk up to a container, open it, collect your eddies, and move on. These jobs are the definition of open world bloat for me. They don't really add much to the game. They don't inform you about the world of Cyberpunk, inform you about much at all besides that the police don't do a lot in this city. Prior to the 1.5 patch, you would see these littered throughout the map. They were overwhelming. Since this patch, they've hidden them by default. As they stand right now, you're more likely to just run into them as you're driving around the city, and they actually come across as a bit more organic now. They're still pretty pointless in doing unless you're just looking for some XP. Gigs on the map are short little missions. You'll show up on the premises, you'll get a call from your fixer, and they'll tell you that you'll have to do some menial task, whether it's steal a laptop, escort someone off the premises, or maybe assassinate someone. You'll sneak through the mission, or like me, shoot everyone, and then you'll get a call from your fixer and maybe have to go drop something off. They definitely provide a little more world building than those NCPD activities, but still are pretty just optional side quests that you're gonna just do for extra money and XP. Cyberpsycho sightings are activities where you drive to somewhere on the map and meet someone with cyberpsychosis. Oh, what's cyberpsychosis, you ask? Oh, it's when you get so many augmentations that you disassociate from your body and don't even realize you're a person and then lash out at everyone around you. Effectively, this is just a mini boss. You get to fight a unique enemy who has a big health bar. They don't really have any unique attacks, and you just kind of shoot them until they're dead. They do present you with the option of keeping them alive. Generally, I found I always kept them alive without even trying. I guess if you're aiming for the head specifically, you might finish them off. But a lot of the time, I was just short-circuiting them with quick hacks, and they would just writhe around on the floor once their health depleted. Overall, I was kind of disappointed on these cyberpsycho missions. The topic isn't really explored much. Your fixer says they're going to go find them help, but you never really find out the outcome to these people. You never see if they're able to return to any form of normal life or any steps taken to help people with cyberpsychosis. Overall, just something I wish was fleshed out more. Main jobs are the main quest, the story missions, the content with the most authored intent. I'll get more into the story later on in this video, but just know that these missions are really where Cyberpunk shines. It's the most scripted sequences, it's the most varied and cool combat encounters, just some really great stuff in here. Finally, side jobs will lead you to more varied and narrative-heavy content. This is probably my favorite stuff in the game. Some highlights include a pair of brother monks, one who has been augmented against his will, a mayoral candidate who believes someone has broken into his house even though the expensive security he's hired says nothing's happened. And finally, a prisoner who believes himself a martyr. I really just want to show a quick clip of this, but I feel like it's spoilers, but well, here, just take a quick look at this.
Save yourself and save us.
See, doesn't that intrigue you? One lowlight for me, though, in these style of jobs was a series of boxing matches that absolutely handed me my ass. Pretty much forced to respec into a melee build if you have any hope of beating these, and there's not a lot of narrative payoff. It's kind of cool to see some of the world building that comes as a result of these, but boy, are they frustrating. Though the fisticuffs of Cyberpunk are a little wash for me, I will say that the shooty bang bang combat is absolutely perfect. The game does a good job of playing to various playstyles. This is done through giving you a wide range of weapons, fall into a few categories. So melee, pistols, submachine guns, combat rifles, sniper rifles, shotguns, and light machine guns. Further variation is required from unique modifiers and attributes. Tech weapons are guns that you can charge up and get greater firepower. Smart guns are guns that auto-target for you but require a specific augmentation. I'm sure there are a ton of unique weapon modifiers I never saw, but one of my favorite was a tech revolver that fired 3 shots in a triangle pattern, and when you charge it, it would just fire in an automatic mode and just destroy everything around me. To further round out the combat, they allow you to quick hack in the middle of a firefight. This can be anything from blinding your opponents. One thing, I don't know why everyone has cybernetic eyes. Like, what kind of world would you, as soon as you're born, be like, yeah, rip out my eyeballs and put in some synthetic ones? I guess maybe that's the equivalent of phones in this day. Everyone just uses their eyes to access the information of the world, but it just seems so crazy. They provided a much needed variation in how you approach combat. They can even lend themselves to stealth with things like whistle, where you can, through the magic of quick hacking, whistle to someone and get them to come over towards you. Mentioning stealth, you are always presented with the option of stealth. You can sneak your way through a mission, choking out dudes, hiding bodies in conveniently placed trash cans. Truthfully, I always tried to stealth through a mission, but 9 times out of 10 found that the shit would hit the fan once I got about halfway through. Then every enemy would be alerted and I'd have to shoot everyone. It's still cool that it's an option, but maybe not the primary way most people will play this game. The other primary verb in this game is to drive. Prior to the 1.5 patch, driving was pretty abysmal in Cyberpunk. Cars rotated on the middle axis and didn't really feel like cars. Since being patched, cars have weight to them. You're actually able to do donuts, which, saying out loud, seems ridiculous that wasn't in there in the beginning. You can fast travel around, but generally I love to just drive around in these cool cyberpunky cars. I recently saw some discourse around this game as to whether Cyberpunk is an RPG or not, to which I say, man, what even is an RPG anymore? Is it stats and character attributes? Because this game definitely has that. Every time you level up, you get a perk point and a attribute point. Is it the ability to roleplay? The game gives you 3 unique origins, and based on that, gives you unique dialogue to further shape your character. Is it the ability to have player choice throughout the narrative? I mean, this game has that too, as you get to choose throughout the story, and even features multiple endings that actually feel varied and different. It does have one of my favorite RPG tropes, which is the power creep. Like a Fallout or a Skyrim, as you progress throughout the game, you find yourself becoming increasingly more and more powerful, to the point that the final boss in the game is kind of a cakewalk. I love this feeling in games, and Cyberpunk is not afraid to step into this territory, as you become an absolutely augmented badass. Perhaps an RPG is a game with a fully realized world, and to that I say Night City is very fully realized. The city is divided into several districts. You have the industry on the north side, the dilapidated housing on the south side. The city center is the corporate stronghold. To the northeast, you have Hollywood Hills-style mansions. And the city is surrounded by the Barrens, the Mad Max-like apocalyptic desert that surrounds Night City. Night City is plastered in advertisements that help to provide a sense of desperation to the city. Advertisements can be summed up into 3 categories: sex, food, and guns. I love that there are vending machines that sell guns, as if you need a quick handgun to go do a robbery, we got you covered. It's this world building and setting that may be Cyberpunk's greatest strength. Cyberpunk is a smaller game in scope than you might have originally thought. It's about a small cast of characters helping you solve a singular problem. At the end of the game, you haven't really changed the world. The corporations are still in power. Life is just as shitty. All in all, Cyberpunk wants to tell a tale about confronting your own immortality and questioning what it is you want to be remembered for. So at a quick glance, that's Cyberpunk 2077. It's an open world game with a lot of fun shooty gameplay with a cool cyberpunk story. Cyberpunk is in no means a bad game. Its greatest sin was clearly the hype it had created prior to release. I remember thinking this game was going to redefine an open world game, that it would surpass Red Dead Redemption 2 in the amount of detail it would provide. It really isn't, and is an above average open world game. It's a game that you've played before in a setting that you might not be so familiar with. After this 1.5 patch, many of the complaints that people have had have been remedied. That's not to say there isn't glitches. I still saw quite a few in my recent playthrough, but it is a far more well-rounded game and one worth playing. So if you're interested in exploring a cyberpunk city with a fun cast of characters and a lot of concessions to make your own V, then have at it. Thanks for watching. Bye.